Japan is being forced to censor manga and anime? It's time for the latest news out of Japan. If you were to ask a dedicated fan of anime and manga, what is a word worse than death? They'd give you a quick and simple answer. Censorship. Adult content is a huge part of Japanese entertainment culture, especially when it comes down to drawn or animated media like anime and manga. Whether it comes in the form of extreme violence, mild and comedic displays of nudity, or full-blown R-rated scenery, adult content is something that's naturally ingrained into Japanese media. But unfortunately, not every country which anime and manga are distributed to supports these spicy additions, and as such, there have been several cases where anime and manga have been censored to suit the ideologies of several countries. For example, the Mitsuri bat scene in Demon Slayer where her bare back and chests were shown was censored in the Chinese version, as she was seen wearing a towel in that scene. Fans didn't pay much mind to it and instead found some of these cases funny, such as when the Malaysian version of Attack on Titan had the Titans, which were normally bare-skinned, wearing tight pants. Little did they know that things would eventually blow up in an aggravating way. During the final days of October, the United Nations pitched the idea of censoring or even banning anime and manga based on the idea that these forms of media were promoting gender stereotypes and violence towards women and children. Many fans voiced their discomfort with that development, claiming it was wrong on so many different levels. But things still took a turn for the worse because recently it was discovered that Western credit card companies such as Visa and MasterCard are now dissociating themselves from anime and manga sites in an attempt to force them to censor their content. Ken Akamatsu, the creator of Love Hina, was unfortunately a victim of this, as his manga site Manga Z was forced to shut down due to these credit card companies pulling away. In his official statement on Twitter, he said, "The website Manga Library Z, formerly known as J-Komi, which I founded 14 years ago, had decided to cease operations on November 26th. Although I have already stepped down from management, I'm writing this announcement on behalf of the team." About Manga Library Z. Manga Library Z is an ad-supported platform that provides out-of-print manga as free digital content, generating ad revenue to compensate creators. Server and operational costs were mainly covered by fees from premium members. Reasons for the shutdown. The immediate cause of the suspension is that our payment processor has notified us that they are terminating all payment services beyond credit card payments, which includes other methods. Suddenly, all credit card providers, including JCB, became unusable, and other payment options, except for BidCash, were also rendered non-functional. On top of that, even payments for past months were withheld, so we were unable to cover server costs due to the lack of incoming premium member fees. After careful consideration, the Manga Library Z team determined that running the site solely on BitCash revenue was unsustainable. Even if a new payment processor was found, similar issues could arise again, and selectively removing content to stay operational was undesirable. Thus, we reached the decision to suspend the site. We apologize for the suddenness of the situation and for yielding to the control of the payment provider, which left us with little time to respond. However, through this experience, we have gained insights on the grounds for declaring payment service suspensions, the severity and duration of associated penalties, and potential countermeasures. In the past, for example, Love Hina was banned and later reinstated in Apple's ebook app, a situation that became a valuable case in protecting freedom of expression. We continue to refer to these kinds of special cases in discussions about protecting free expression. Recently, stricter conditions and penalties have emerged from payment service providers, posing a growing threat to not only ebooks but to the Japanese content industry as a whole. We intend to develop more accurate countermeasures as a platform that has been directly affected. We appreciate your support in this endeavor. So, there's a lot to unpack in this message, but the main point is that his manga site is being forced to shut down based on their inability to make money. And the cause of that is, of course, the fact that the Western credit card companies they were aligned with chose to step away from them. This is a very terrible situation, and anime fans are absolutely furious about this incident. A fan said, "Bad take from US-based card companies. Trying to force an entire country to censor a major part of their cultural identity will just force Japan to seek a possible home-sourced card company, which will lead to other non-Japanese sites to utilize them as well to avoid censorship. What's worse is that the censorship they're trying to influence into effect isn't the normal one we're familiar with, where only the versions of anime and manga for specific countries are altered. What these people want is for these products to be censored right at the source, meaning even the original versions of anime and manga being distributed in Japan would be heavily censored. This is a huge slap in the face, not only to the whole freedom of expression privilege for creators, but also Japanese culture in general. These card companies have done this before with platforms like Pixiv and DL Site, removing themselves from those sites until certain content which they deem is inappropriate is removed. Some fans are even trying to make light of the situation by claiming that the world is now similar to Shimoneta, an anime world where all forms of adult things were banned. Credit card companies actually hold a lot of power because they monopolize the use of online and card-based transactions. So basically, if you wish to make a payment to any sites, including anime and manga sites, it most often has to go through them, which is why a situation like this, where they pull away from a company, would mean that the company has no way of making any money. And thus, the company is forced to shut down, all based on an unfair imposition of Western ideologies on Japanese media. Some fans are going as far as saying that Japan should stop distributing anime and manga to the West entirely, since they're the ones always pushing for censorship. Japan needs to give a big middle finger to the West and completely disconnect from it. These were the words of a fan who was rightfully annoyed by the situation. Some are calling out influential figures like Elon Musk to do something about the situation, given the fact that he openly admitted to being a huge fan of anime and gaming. Fans think that Musk will eventually start his own card companies and payment platforms that would eventually crush the ones currently monopolizing the business. Some others feel that crypto should become the premier means of payments, putting the current card companies out of business, and they believe the outcome of the recently concluded US elections could make that dream a reality. Interestingly, apparently, Brazil used a system called Pix that bypasses cards and bank limitations. If more countries copied this method, those payment processing holders would have zero power across the globe and would be forced to compete with quality of service instead. Well, these proposed solutions do seem appealing, but it would take a lot of different things to come into place for them to actually work out. Taking notice of this, fans have decided to focus on looking for ways to fight back and punish the card companies directly. Many have suggested starting a war with America or even orchestrating a cyber attack against these card companies. This is why I want the entire Western entertainment industry gone, wiped clean from the world. Were the words of a fan who needs to be convinced that the Western entertainment industry is no sandcastle that could easily be kicked down. This is maybe a little extreme. Many believe that the best course of action would be to avoid buying from them entirely, and so many fans have resolved to only using pirate sites for consuming anime and manga, instead of paying through these companies. Depending on how things play out, this incident could cause a ripple that would affect Japanese culture and how anime is created. For now, we can only hope things go in favor of Japan and the rest of the anime manga fandom. In other news, Vinland Saga is ending soon?